on shuffle. All right.
I love it.
Intro roulette.
Let's do it.
Black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm blacker than black, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm blacker than black, and I'm black, y'all. I'm blickety black, blacker than black, black, I'm blacker than black, yo, because I'm black and I'm back. Yo, I'm black and I'm black, y'all, and I'm blacker than black, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm blacker than black, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm blacker than black, because I'm black.
Welcome to Films in Black and White.
Welcome.
Happy everybody could join us. We're very white. Marcus is going to be joining us later. Those who watch us on the live stream on a regular basis know that we play a little game called Intro Roulette every week. And this week we got the one for Black History Month. And we still celebrate Black History Year right now.
Yes.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. Glad you are with us. Brian, we got a great episode.
We have an excellent episode queued up.
We're going to talk a little bit about Mandalorian season 3 finale.
We're
We're going to talk a little bit the Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, which was the movie our Patty family picked this week. And then we're going to talk about whatever else we want. Those who are watching notice that Marcus is not here yet. He is coming from an event. It sounded like he might be here. He might not, but either way, we got some great shit for you. Brian, how you feeling?
I'm feeling good to be here. It was a day, so I'm happy to be here to talk about movies. I had to talk to an insurance company today, and like, there's just no way to make that fun. If you remember a few episodes back, I talked about this opportunity that we have for my house now. And we can't move forward until we get stuff figured out with insurance. So I did it was just very tedious work. So I'm very excited to be here to talk about things like that I actually enjoy, rather than being let's talk about premiums and policies and all these things that I need to have, but I don't always understand. And I don't necessarily want to spend my free time talking about. So
and acts of God and force majeure and all of that shit, Brian. Nobody wants to talk about that.
No.
Marcus or Roman, it's been 2 minutes.
Look,
it's been 2
Roman
minutes.
In the chat is saying he misses Marcus. I miss him too. I miss him
2
too.
minutes. Give us a chance.
It's because I talked about insurance premiums. That's
it's
why.
True. And he was like, no, not this, not the energy I wanted today.
Noping out.
Brian, that's no fun. Insurance stuff is no fun.
But I did get to watch Ghosted on Apple.
Okay.
Which was the new Chris Evans, Anna de Armas movie that was released this weekend. Watched Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. I also watched the Power Rangers special, Once and Always. If Marcus joins us, I'm sure we can have a rousing discussion about that. It's too. We got the chat saying that it's 2 minutes too long without Marcus. Look, I'll let him explain why he can't be here if he's able to join us. That's not my place.
That's true.
It's not my place. The one thing I do want to say though is that the Power Rangers guitar riff kicks on in that special, and it's like it immediately takes you back to 1994. It's incredible. So
hope you got your cereal because you're about to experience something.
Man, it just it's that theme and the X-Men, the 90s X-Men theme that just make you want to run through a brick wall. It's like immediately on site. Brick walls aren't safe.
And Brian, I don't know about you, but I could watch them on repeat. It doesn't bother me. If it were to just be on a loop for the length of a normal song, not the 35, 40 seconds that it is, I could just watch them loop, and that's fine. I could just watch them keep going.
Yes.
So
that's cool. So it was a weird mishmash. I had an action rom-com. I had a weird. We'll talk about the Nick Cage movie. It was a comedy at the end of the day, and then I watched 90s television reunion special essentially.
Yeah.
So how are you, Doug? I feel like you had a busy weekend.
That's because I have pink eye, Brian. I have it. And also, if you notice my name, those of us who are watching in the chat, which you can watch on our stream on our all of our socials, I had this moment today where I'm bathing my children, And Brittany comes walking to the bathroom, and I said to Brittany, I go, Brittany, quick, what's the name of the TLC singer, Left Eye? What was her name? She goes,
Left Eye Lopez.
Left Eye Lopez. And the problem is that oftentimes in these moments, I create this sense of panic in my wife over shit that does not deserve panic. Because the sound in my voice was, quick, there's a gun to my head. What's the name? What's this person's name? And it was not that sense of urgency at all.
Well, it sounds pretty important.
It wasn't, Brian. It wasn't. Like, I was bathing my children. Like, it was not important at all.
Well, okay.
And so that's why my name is Doug Pink Eye Lopez, because
I love it.
Okay, so Harper has it. I have it. It's been a real lot of fun. My son celebrated his 6th birthday on Friday, so there's that.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday, Harrison.
So we had a busy weekend, a lot going on, a lot happening, but it was good. It was really, really good. Glad to be here. I also watched the movie. Haven't watched Ghosted yet, but I have been staying up to date on what's the name of the show? Ted Lasso, which I am very excited for.
Yeah.
Very into season 3. Not sure if you watched it, Brian, but it's been good so far. I've enjoyed it.
I haven't, but I know a lot of people are watching it.
Yeah. And so I'm very kind of curious to see where this season goes. It's very exciting, but
because it's the last season, right?
Yeah, dude. They're not doing another one. They are donezzers after this. So we will see where everything kind of shakes out. So did that. What else did I do? That's pretty much it. I mean, tried to not give pink eye to my wife and then my son, because it's just my daughter and I. So yeah, that's what I got. I read a lot. I read a little bit. And I have this question for you.
All
Brian,
right.
I know typically you are more of a fiction reader versus nonfiction reader. You tend to trend fiction.
Yes.
Have you ever read a piece, like a book? Have you ever gone back to a particular book and gone like, oh no, I remember why I like this? Like a book maybe that you read years ago or at a very foundational part of your life, and you look back on it and you're like, nope, I get it now. This makes a lot of sense.
Like you remember why you like it, or like maybe you started it and you weren't into it?
Instantly, you remember why you like it. Like you are maybe a chapter in, less than a chapter in, and you read it and you're like, no, this is my shit. I get it. Yep, this is fine.
Oh yeah, 100%. I felt that way with honestly, it's with World War Z, the book. I mean, it's technically it is World War Z, because he wrote Max Brooks wrote 2 books about zombies. One was a zombie handbook manual for surviving the apocalypse, and the other one was World War Z. But no, the book World War Z I've reread 2 or 3 times, and it's like the minute I start reading about, like, basically it's a retrospective of like how people survived. Yeah. And it's like, this is so much my jam. So no, I would say World War Z. I could go on about it and how I love it. And it's an easy read, and it has deep concepts with a silly premise, but it's somehow serious, even though it's fictional. So yes, I know exactly that feeling. Did you get that feeling recently?
Yes, he did an outstanding job making historical zombie fiction seem true.
Yeah, 100%.
Very much so. Yeah, he did a great job. And I remember reading this and I was like, this is a history book, but also it's not. Like,
you know, and that's the thing that kind of pains me about the movie, is that like they just kind of took some of the ideas from the book and they were like, here's an action movie. And I was like, oh my gosh, the book is like, it doesn't even like feel like that. It's like, and the thing I like about the book is that they're tiny vignettes. Like, not all of them are connected, but they're basically like little short stories that do get connected over the course of the entire book. So you never know where you're going. And then once you see the full narrative, it's like, I don't know, it's very rewarding.
For sure. So I did have a moment like that. I have started reading, I read this years ago. I read this book called Ego is the Enemy by, I read Ego is the Enemy by Ryan Holiday.
Daddy's home.
Okay, well,
welcome, Marcus.
Apparently it's 7 minutes too late for Roman Myers. So
look look at Roman.
This shit started 2 minutes in. He's like, where's Marcus? And I was like, Get outta here.
Immediately.
That's because me and Roman
Like-
are tied in chaotic energy. You know what I mean? We
That's
just give it
very,
off in
very
different
true.
ways.
It was just the
Yes.
two white guys, and I get it. I mean, like, I
Yeah.
get it.
Also get it, especially when you start with an intro that goes, "I'm black, I'm bliggity black."
Oh,
Yeah,
is
we
that
got the
the
Black
one
History
That's
Month
what-
intro.
Okay,
Yeah,
got it.
you know?
Listen,
it was a whole thing.
sometimes it's nice to be wanted in black.
It's always nice to be wanted.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I was
Yes.
saying I was rereading the Ego is the Enemy book.
Yeah.
Jesus fucking Christ.
I don't know what kind of I don't know
we're
what
being
internal beef
roasted
was.
in the chat.
Yeah, I don't know what was happening before this.
You're
but
gonna get
yeah,
kicked
for
out of the Patty family, Roman. That's what's
Yeah.
gonna happen to you.
We'll have to make him pay for an extra tier.
That's right. The don't come at me, bro tier. But anyway, I reread it and I got like minutes into it and I was like, no, this is my shit. I remember why
Right
I
on.
enjoyed this. I remember why it spoke to me. But enough about me and my book. Marcus J, how you feeling, sir?
I'm feeling good. Where are we? Just in the intro?
Literally,
Yeah.
that's it.
Oh, damn. Okay. No, I'm feeling good. Sorry, I'm late. Sorry, I didn't mean to come in here and cause a ruckus. You know what I mean?
You're
it's out
never sorry
celebrating
for
ruckus.
causing a ruckus.
It's award season on higher ed campuses.
Oh my gosh, yes, it
banquet
is.
season. Yep.
It's award season and graduation season. So it's like I'm running out of dress clothes to wear.
The way I've been starting my calls when I start to campuses, I'm like, "How you doing? It's banquet season. It's end of programming season." They're like, "How did you know?" I've like been there before.
Yeah.
I get it.
It's really fun to witness as an employee because then it's like you got to go to all these things. You can't just pick and choose the ones you want to. As a student, you can be like, "I'm gonna go to this one. I'm gonna go to this one." But now it's like you
the
gotta
students
support.
know. They know which ones you go to.
Oh,
I
God.
remember that.
They look you dead in the face at these
Yep.
banquets and be like, "So you're coming to ours, right?" And it's like,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Well, and the best part is when you have kids and you can't make it to all of them, you just don't go to any of them, which is what I started doing, and it worked
Lucky.
out really great for me.
Lucky.
I went,
kids.
shit. There's
Yeah.
a kid, insert kid's name, at home. I can't go.
Insert. They're just at home. They're just there.
Yep, there's
Yeah.
somebody there. I gotta
Well,
help out. So, yeah. How you holding up though?
It's
Doing
good.
good?
It's a good time. It's always fun, right? It's like you get busy and it's busy. It's a shit show, and then you got to kind of partially ramp up for the next year at the same time.
Mhm.
But it is good to see students that you work with just graduate, go to that next level and finish the job. And a lot of people that I went to school with that I work and advise in different capacities. It's a good time. So
yeah.
Good stuff. Yeah. It's also kind of like it's like floating down. You see those people when they float down on a parachute and they get towards the ground and they start running their feet and they're like, dude, you're floating. Like there's nothing you have to do. It's like, no, because that ground is coming. Like, and it's coming hard.
It's coming
and
fast.
the ground is next year. And the float is very much the end of the semester. So yeah.
Got it.
That's good.
Well, good. Glad you're doing well. Let's get into Catch That Quotable, shall we?
Sure.
We're gonna play a little game we like to call Catch That Quotable. Fantastic silky sounds, Marcus J. Gentlemen, are you ready for this week's quote?
Hit me.
Locked and loaded.
Hit me. We gotta. I wish we had a soundboard.
I'm gonna get one. I'm gonna bring it back.
Just for that one. I don't want anything else.
I'll
So
bring
that
it
when
back.
someone says hit me, we can push a button that goes hit me. Like
I mean that and the mouth horns. That way Marcus doesn't have to do mouth horns.
I'm gonna bring it back. We'll bring back the soundboard. Let's put it in the chat. If you're watching this,
we'll figure that
put
out.
a thumbs up in the chat if you
We'll
want
figure that
soundboard
out.
back.
All right, gentlemen. Your 20s are great. They are. But then your 30s come around the corner like a garbage truck at 5 a.m.
Oh. That's a rude awakening. But yeah. Can you read it again?
I can. Your 20s are great. They are. But then your 30s come around the corner like a garbage truck at 5 a.m.
This feels, I don't know. This feels like a Paul Rudd type situation.
It does.
I could see that for sure. I could see that. I have no idea what this is.
Like a coming of age tale, but
It
like
is.
just like 35 years old.
Big, grumpy old man type of movie. Can I get a hint? I'm sorry. I'm not going to sit here and bask in this like this. Can I get a hint, please?
That's fine.
Yeah.
I have it. I looked it up, so I can give you a hint.
You know the movie?
Well, I had to get it pulled up, and I accidentally saw the answer because that's my life.
At least he's honest, folks.
I am.
This guy.
I am. What's a good quote? Here's what I have.
Brian.
It is Charlize Theron is the hint.
Oh, it's a lover's tale. I don't know about many. It's not Mad Max, is it?
It is. That's to be one hell of a fucking Mad Max.
It's not Mad Max, huh?
It is not.
Brian has guessed this movie in past guesses.
He has guessed this movie in past guesses.
So that's really interesting. Charlize Theron?
Indeed.
I don't know many Charlize movies.
I mean, there's a few. Okay, it's not Hancock. We'll start there.
It is not.
Hancock.
Let's
It's not
see what it's
Hancock.
not. It's not
Mad
Hancock.
Max.
It's not Mad Max.
It's not Aeon Flux. It's not Monsters
not.
Ball.
Oh Jesus, no.
I mean, she's done so much stuff. I mean, the only one that I've talked about is Tully. But
It's Tully. Go with
okay,
it.
I guess
Go
I'll
with
lock in Tully.
Go with Tully.
Oh, Brian got it. It's Tully.
Well, he did it. I don't know what gave it away.
What was your hint? You know, you're good at it.
I do want to say that, like, man, I found that movie. I had heard nothing about it, and it got recommended to me from like an algorithm. I think it was on HBO Max.
Oh, okay.
And it was because I was going down a Diablo Cody.
Sure. Yep.
Rabbit hole, and I was starting to watch all of her movies, and I had watched Young Adult, and then Tully came up, and I was like, I've never heard of this movie, and like it's amazing. If you're a parent, like Tully's, like it hits a certain note. It's also a good movie if you're not a parent, and I don't want to like I can't keep talking about it, otherwise I'll spoil it.
Okay.
So
Okay.
Anyway, it's a good drama with some other stuff. I'll say that.
Okay. I love it. Absolutely love it.
Did y'all know there was an Equalizer 3 coming out?
I
think I did.
I know that CBS did a TV show.
Apparently,
Someone's
that's
rebooting it.
Latifah. Yeah,
it is.
That's still on. But there's an Equalizer. They just released a poster.
Oh, well, that's fun.
With Denzel Washington.
You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen.
Wow.
Equalizer 3.
We also got $90.
Yes, we do. $90.
We're gonna have to pick a charity here.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. All right. I'll start hunting down that charity.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Gentlemen, we need to open our envelopes from last week. Last week,
oh my god.
If you listen to the podcast, if you watched the episode,
oh my gosh,
we were putting our predictions into the ether about the season finale of The Mandalorian. And we need to open that up and talk about the finale, as that series has now come to an end, or that season has come to an end. Quick spoiler warning. If you haven't watched The Mandalorian, the season finale, put a pin in it, come back later. We'll talk about it then. But yeah, that's what we got. Gentlemen, thoughts on the last episode of The Mandalorian?
I was dead wrong. I'll just go ahead and say
it. I think the thing I have to say is, like, I was happy after a Star Wars TV show finale, and like that's pretty foreign to me. Like, I mean, I don't know. Like, everything turned out fine. Everybody was okay. Like, it almost felt like a series finale. I think that's
it.
Where
really
I'm
did.
at.
It really did. I think I was. I mean, we all went through it and we're like, this person's dying. No, this person's dying. And nobody died, anybody. Like, we were wrong.
I mean, and if anything, Pedro Pascal kind of came out and said, I'll do it. As he made a quote and said, I will do Mando for as long as somebody can fit in the suit or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was dead wrong thinking he was upset with Disney.
Yeah.
I could have sworn Bo-Katan was going to die. Everybody was going to die. The people who were supposed to die, they died. And that was pretty much all that, and it was a complete happy ending, which I thought was dope.
I mean, like, all they needed was someone riding or flying into a sunset. I mean, really which I'm not complaining about. They had set up so much stuff that it got to a point where it was like, I don't see how you get out of this. And then the TV show was like, anyway, everybody's fine and they're happy. Like, like, absolutely wild. I do. So yeah, I'll own it. Like the armorer turned out to be just fine. She's apparently a fine individual. I don't trust her still, but
no reputational issues with her at all.
like Axe
She fine
Woves
as hell.
was not
He
the
was
traitor,
fine.
Yeah,
and then
he's
crashed
fine.
a cruiser into Moff
Can,
Gideon's
can we
base.
can we take a moment here? Let me tell you
Yes.
all the moments I thought shit was gonna turn.
Do it.
when Axe hopped in the cockpit and he told everybody to
Oh,
leave.
yeah. I thought he was
Oh.
going to fly away.
I thought he was gonna open up fire on
Yes.
everybody in the cockpit.
Yes.
And I thought that was interesting. There was another moment where the armorer pulled out the hammer while they was flying through the air, and I thought she was gonna turn and whack the people she was flying with to throw them out of Louisville, or hit Bo-Katan, you know what I mean? Like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
The only thing I didn't understand that I think is interesting, but I know will come back later. The storyline about the redeemed empire, like
yeah.
the scientist,
the colony and the scientist and all
and the
that jazz.
spy, like that spy,
Okay.
the actual spy, I guess.
Yeah.
That was the one thing that didn't come full circle for me that I was expecting.
They just
Yep.
left her out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, they did a
Elia Kane.
flashback to her, but like there was nothing else. Anybody else think that was weird?
I honestly, what it feels like to me is that's gonna continue, like for Mandalorian for a while. I feel like she's gonna be the mole. I don't think she's gonna get rooted out anytime soon.
Yeah. Yeah. I would agree with that. I have a question, Brian. How strong are the windshields on TIE fighters?
I mean, here's the thing. It's a very technical term in Star Wars called plot. So, does it serve the plot? Then yes, it's very, very thick. If it does not, it's very, very thin.
Brian,
Yeah, 'cause
why
it
didn't
was
they
the-
just hit the Mandalorians with their ships? Because they looked like little bugs flying out in the thing, and I was like, none of y'all are just gonna try and run these motherfuckers over. They're literally just sitting here, like nobody. Bueller,
look,
anybody?
Like, if I'm gonna put on my Star Wars strategist cap, there's no way a tiny, super fast TIE interceptor is gonna hit a jetpack guy.
Yeah, no, that's
with
not
any
happening.
type of accuracy, and most likely will crash.
Here's the other.
They
I
don't
agree
have
with that.
targeting computers on those.
They do,
well,
but not for people. Like
Yeah, I
for
think that's true.
exhaust ports. And
Clearly, none of the
spaceships.
TIE interceptor pilots played Grand Theft Auto 800 or whatever they're on at that point in time.
Don't forget, this is a galaxy long ago and far,
Yes,
far
thank you,
away,
Marcus.
which means that technology is technically old technology. Future to
true.
us, old to
It's
them.
true.
So they have not caught up yet on individual targeting. Also, the Mandalorian are fast as fuck. If I'm just being honest, they're 40 time with the jetpack. When there were some scenes where they were doing like these full out runs in the Mandalorian suits,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh shit, like that's pretty
Yeah.
cool. I can't explain to you why that's cool, but I think that's dope as fuck.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I guess I just had this thought when Axe Wolf is in that thing. And I was like, he's gonna shoot the little Mandalorians. I was like, why is no one just shooting the Mandalorians? I felt like such a bad person. I was like, they're just there.
Yeah,
no
they're
one
just
can
hanging
shoot
out.
them. Like,
Yeah.
It was
that was
different.
that was the thing I kept thinking about.
What do you think? I mean, it feels like the end scene for the finale is going to take us back to like the roots of, okay, so Grogu is now Din's son, Din Grogu, right?
Yep.
Which I thought was dope the way that they did that.
Yeah.
But it looks like the next season is going to kind of take us into, what was the show that got canceled?
Rangers of the New Republic.
I think that I feel like that's going to tie into Rangers of the New Republic. Is that accurate?
I could see that.
It really honestly feels like they're just cutting and pasting what they wrote for Rangers of the New Republic into Mandalorian, and I'm not entirely opposed to like Mandalorian and the Rangers being the TV show, like because he's basically gonna become a Nazi hunter, like that's the crew, like that's the main idea is he's gonna hunt down old Imperials, so it's like that's cool, like I think that's cool. And yeah, they were wearing Beskar armor.
Yeah, Beskar, aka plot.
I'm not sure I'm talking to you, Roman.
Don't do Roman like that.
No. He's a Patreon.
It's
Join
fine.
our Patreon. Where Doug will make sure to ignore you.
Yeah.
If anybody else wants to sign up for the Patreon, we will not ignore you like Doug is ignoring.
Do you not get enough daily ridicule in your life? Sign up for the Patreon, where one of the owners, one of the founders, will openly mock you.
We'll give you
Thanks for your
the
money.
silent treatment for tier 4.
We call that the fourth heat tier. It's just an inferno.
It's just the
He's dropping
silent-
Doug, he's dropping a Patreon tier.
Jeez,
Yeah,
That's
that's
what
fine.
it's about.
Anyway, I mean, it's basically going to be Din and Grogu rebel rangers. Like it's like Chip
Yeah,
and Dale, but
exactly.
it's just like it's
Father,
just the two
son.
of them.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
nice way
Okay,
to phrase it.
Here's my question. Do they ever age Grogu up? And if they age him up, does that ruin the series? Does that ruin what is so cute about Grogu?
I don't think they'll ever age him up. I really don't. I do think I'll talk about this later. I do think we might get a time skip though, but we'll see how Ahsoka plays out. Like I think depending on what Ahsoka does, I could see the Mandalorian being like, whatever, it's in 5 years. Like, shut up, you know. But yeah, I don't think they age him up for the show because that's part of the formula. I don't think making him a teenager, I don't know, maybe making him a teenager could be fun, but I don't know.
I don't think a toddler. Like
yeah,
I don't know, because I can't tell you how old he is, but he talks the baby talk, so that's why I was asking. I don't know.
Well, and it's so unclear because he's the species of Yoda who doesn't have a name. They say he's like 50 years old, so it's like, you're gonna have a 50-year-old toddler following you around. I don't know. I like the Grogu antics. I think it's funny, but I also understand for some people it's like, is anything ever gonna happen with him? And it's kind of like, no, I don't know. I kind of just see him as like a Groot character. Yeah, that's kind of how I see
what
him.
I was thinking.
Yeah, I could see them maybe jumping to when he's, I don't know, because there's a part of me that's like, I'm not interested in seeing him as a teenager. Like I'm not interested. Like there's a moment where like small child antics are like cute, funny, adorable, like help your show. And then like angsty teenager takes it to this place where I'm like, okay, that's good for one episode, maybe 2, before I get it out of here. Like,
got to be part of the reason they didn't focus on that much with Groot. Like it was quick scenes of him being a rebellious teenager. To what it felt like to me.
And remember, it was in a different movie too. It was in Infinity War, and
that's right.
It wasn't elsewhere.
Well, that would get annoying. That's right.
And I feel like the other thing with this too is like, there's gonna be some connection with him using the Force with the creatures around him, because in the finale, like Grogu touched the waters and then it zoomed in on the mythosaur eye, and then it was like, well, we'll tell that story another day. And it was just kind of like, okay, like I see what you're doing here. Like I understand we're gonna do something with Grogu and the creatures, but it's not gonna be today.
Yeah.
Good finale.
Yeah, I mean, I think that basically confirms though. Like we had one theory that we had touched on. Like I think it was like after episode 3 or 4, where we collectively and others around the social media space were saying like, oh, does this mean that Grogu is going to be a return to a Jedi Mandalorian leader of Mandalore? This sort of, I mean, we all kind of assumed it, but this definitely confirms it at this point in time, I feel like.
Yeah, eventually we will get
going that route. Maybe not that it's happening immediately, but that's the end target that they're shooting.
Is there a Mandalorian Jedi? Because that's kind of crazy. That's a crazy combo.
For sure been one in canon. And that's it. And like, I don't know. Here's where the weird stuff comes. There's a whole bunch of books written about how the Mandalorians and the Old Republic like fought each other for like decades, but I don't know if any of that is canon anymore. I do know that there were like a ton of stories about how the Republican Mandalorians were at odds for decades, and they had huge wars and they killed each other. Then they finally stopped doing that, and I feel like they're drawing on some of that. I don't know if all those specific stories are still canon, but I do think there's some, I don't know. The one thing I'm really thankful for Mandalorian is it's giving us an entire different culture other than the Jedi that has this creed, and it's showing not only the pitfalls, but like, oh, like they find community here, even though XYZ might be flawed. And I feel like the Mandalorians just do a better job of like fleshing that idea out rather than the Jedi, because the Jedi kind of turn into this like cursed tale of like Shakespearean woe, right? And whereas the Mandalorians, you actually feel like there's a future there.
Another and yet another sexless Star Wars sect that exists.
I mean, look, there is no sex in Star Wars, okay?
That's
like
a lie.
it's
period.
no, it's
End of story.
okay.
Moving on.
It's totally
lie.
chaste. It
That's a
has
lie.
always been one of my main critiques of the Star Wars franchise. You only get a nice kiss. That's it. That's all that ever happens.
Why don't they let the people in there have sex? What type of cult is this? There's clearly babies. What is it?
I brought it up episodes ago. I said, well, this is the last of the Mandalorians. I was like, did they forget how biology works? If I had a board, I would play the clip where I brought it up.
It's
I
a
don't know.
creed, not a bloodline. That's the thing, though. Like,
Yeah,
it's a
but
creed.
If y'all can have y'all babies fighting each other, y'all can't fuck to have babies?
Please fight my
Let-
son.
Please.
Please fight my son. Hello, I'm Din. This is my son. Fight him.
CPS would be on the Mandalorian's ass.
Din
yeah.
would be in a New Republic interrogation chamber. They'd be like, "You let your child do what? You took him where? With who? And you just let Luke Skywalker take him?"
Yeah.
The Mandalorians are about to turn into like a weird ranch in the middle of nowhere, Oklahoma, that we all have to hear about via an HBO documentary.
Kanye giving the keynote to a bunch of Mandalorians.
Yeah.
I am a genius.
Golly.
This is the way.
Yep.
This
Yeah.
is the way.
Yeah.
I
I'm excited,
think
though.
the happy ending was too happy. I gotta ask the question because that's what a lot of people are. I see a few people saying, was it too perfect?
I don't know.
don't
I'm not
know.
going to use the phrase too perfect.
Okay.
I think this is fine. These two have been running across the galaxy for what feels like forever.
It does.
They even ran across the galaxy through someone else's show for like a hot second.
Who they didn't
Like,
bring
yeah.
back.
Who
Which
they
I thought,
just said,
Which-
like,
didn't
fuck
bring
'em.
back Boba.
That rubs me the wrong way, but that's just
So-
me.
I'm fine with them saying like, and now they get to rest. I think what's weird is this feeling, and Brian mentioned it earlier, is this feeling that it is somehow a series finale, not a season finale. Like it does feel like it's over. Like it feels like we're not getting any more Mandalorian.
I have a
Go ahead.
sorry. I feel like I know the reason for that. And it's
What's
just
that?
like it's wrapping up this big adventure. This story isn't about us storylines.
Yeah.
Like it's gonna
Yeah.
I feel like they're trying to go back to the root of what season 1 was, which was
Yeah.
father son adventure time.
Yeah.
When the forger, when the armor, I'm sorry, forger, when the armorer said, you need to take him out so he can have his own adventures and discover his own Mandalorian
Right.
adventures. That was when it was my cue that, they got their own plot of land. This is going to be a place he can come to by himself, or he can go
Yep.
back to the world of Mandalore, and they're going to go on these big adventures with the Rangers of the Republic, and
Yep.
he's going to learn all this shit. And so I feel like they're going to do like a little bit of a tone shift in season 4. So like you got to put a nice little bow on that to say, this is perfect. You'll hear about
That
this
makes a
world
lot of sense.
later.
And I totally agree with that. And I think that maybe they realized they got to a point where they're like, we brought in so many characters.
A
Like
lot.
Din is barely
Yeah.
like he can barely be the gravity of his own show, which I do also hold them responsible for a little bit. And everything with Book of Boba Fett, which still just, I don't know, bothers me, even though I enjoyed it. But anyway, my point being is that I agree. It's my yes. And this feels like an easy way to be like, where's Bo-Katan? You're like, she's fine. She's doing Mandalore. Like,
Leave her alone.
Where's so-and-so? Just shut up. They're with the New Republic. Like everybody, you're right, Marcus. Everybody is neatly squared away so that they can just go on these adventures and we don't have to worry. It's kind of like it's like Captain America Winter Soldier after the first Avengers of like, Cap's taking on Hydra by himself. Where are all of his buddies? And everyone's
They're
like,
doing
well,
stuff. They got stuff.
They're
had
doing stuff.
yep.
They had time.
little
Don't
busy.
worry about it.
They're busy.
This feels like a preemptive to any questions like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
especially
very much so.
especially before you get into Ahsoka. Like you have to wrap up these storylines before you introduce Ahsoka, which is going to introduce its own thing.
Oh man.
And nobody wants to be asking questions of, hey, what about this that was happening in season 4 of The Mandalore?
Yeah.
That didn't wrap itself up. Or what about Moff Gideon in where's Ahsoka going to handle Moff Gideon? And it's like that has to be its own thing before we move into this.
That's actually a really good point because that would be hard to suspend disbelief of like, we know Moff Gideon's out here. Why isn't he allied? Or like, we know Mandalorian knows about the cloning. This is a good way to kind of clear the table for Thrawn to be the big bad. And it's, it's a limited series. So I don't think Ahsoka's getting a season 2. I mean, and maybe it will, but I think right now it's billed as a limited series. So that kind of lends
limited series though.
I mean, they honestly, and again, I know people like look at me weird, but like Disney does this really well. They know exactly like, oh, okay, we're gonna niche down. Like, you want just Ahsoka? Here's 6 episodes. We probably maybe we'll do it again. Maybe we won't. Yeah, like they know how to keep drawing in that audience.
Yeah. That's very true. Very, very true.
That Obi-Wan thing was crazy, boy.
Yeah,
Obi-Wan was crazy.
Yeah, it was. Other final thoughts on this before we move into the movie for today?
More Star Wars quickly.
Yes.
More Star Boba Fett. It's weird that Boba didn't. I wonder where Boba Fett sits in the world of Mandalore. You know.
I mean, so it's interesting.
Just take her helmet off. Right. So.
Well, and there was an interview, and I'm going to try to find it here as I talk about it, which we all know goes really well. But essentially, Tamir Morrison was at a convention recently, and he essentially said that he had been given a verbal acknowledgement that he was going to be in season 3 of Mandalorian, which I think is expected because Mando essentially took over the last half of Book of Boba Fett, which I think is too bad, but was also fun. I don't know. It was, it's like eating ice cream and you're like, I've eaten too much ice cream, but I'm going to keep eating it. That's what that felt like. And he was at, here it is, Supernova Comic-Con and Gaming Convention in Australia. And basically he has these really sad quotes of like, nobody rang me. I was waiting for the phone call in New Zealand, waiting and wanting to give up. And it's just like, oh man,
someone check in on
dude
Morrison, please.
That Boba Fett, that season of Boba Fett didn't go how they thought it was.
No, he even addresses it and he goes, "Well, that Mando guy stole a few chapters of my book. It was painful watching him turn up with some black new lethal sword, and the way he turned up in my Book of Boba Fett, he just destroyed everybody. I'm sure this guy is ruining my show, but I couldn't say anything. I'm not the writer."
What the fuck?
Which
is
definitely
not insane.
Yeah, it makes me feel for him because Boba Fett is pretty iconic in the whole scheme of things, and Mandalorian seems to be eating his lunch.
But last thing before we move on, I know we got to talk about Nicolas Cage, but I do think Star Wars is trying to, my personal opinion, move forward. No more Skywalker stories. No more of the old. Old stories, no more of these old storylines. Like we're moving past them. We're gonna get moving past them, but also going backwards and getting more lore, like the New Republic and the age of Old Republic. I'm sorry, like we're gonna get more of these newer stories. And like Rey I know Rey is coming back, but I feel like they're gonna get away from that Rey Skywalker storyline that they tried to do and try to introduce just this new phase of storytelling for Star Wars. You don't develop a world of Mandalore without being like, we're going to tell a shit ton of stories that exist on Mandalore.
Well, and I think the other thing that's kind of cool is that I think what they're going to do is they laid some really strategic seeds for us being able to check back into Mandalore at another time in a later date, because this is placed as like very shortly after the fall of the Empire. And what's really cool is we could fast forward all the way to like fall of after the events of the first in the Skywalker series.
Oh yeah.
And you could drop them in and Mandalore suddenly has more plants and animals and life on it than it did before. They started to plant some of those seeds of like, we can come back to this whenever the fuck we want to.
Right.
And it'll look completely different than it did before, which I thought was cool.
With the same characters and love.
Very true.
And honestly, having Mandalore be a functioning place during the events of the Ahsoka show, I think could be really cool. They may not even touch on it, but that hasn't really been touched on a lot. And I'd say books or other media. A lot of Mandalore has just kind of been relegated to the background of just like, they're mean people. Don't mess with them. So it's just nice to see that fleshed out in a very human way to me. So yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how Ahsoka does anything or nothing with it.
Yeah, very true. Very, very true. But yes, more Star Wars quickly. I'm very excited about it.
And we have a break too. Ahsoka isn't coming until the end of the summer, so they learned their lesson.
That. Yeah, no kidding. And on that note, just very quickly, we are starting to feel the effects, I feel like, of the leadership change at Disney.
100%.
We are starting to see things slow down and having to bang the drum slowly a little bit more, like with more intention, but like, and I'm excited about it. Like, this isn't a specific statement about Star Wars, Marvel, or anything. I'm just kind of excited that stuff is kind of slowed down, that I don't have to be like, oh shit, I gotta go see this thing. Like, it makes it really, really easy. And it gives us the ability to watch movies like what we watched today for our Patty family, The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, which is about Nicolas Cage. Gentlemen, or Marcus rather, care to give us your barbershop summary of The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent if the people above you don't come flying through with an elbow?
I feel like
man, if you're not watching the video stream, oh my gosh.
Yo, I feel like I saw a piece of ceiling come down. Okay. Here's what happened. This movie is meta as fuck. It's Nicolas Cage playing Nicolas Cage, who is going to play Nicolas Cage with Nikki. Okay.
Yep.
And so basically you get this movie of not a washed up Nicolas Cage, but you get a Nicolas Cage who's kind of on his last leg when it comes to acting. And it is a view into how talented Nicolas Cage and how timeless Nicolas Cage is. And he knows this, and he knows he's talented, and he's trying to bring his...
You're still here. You're still here.
He's trying to bring his family. Jesus. He's trying to bring his family together. And sorry, so can somebody else take over this? I need to.
Yes. And it is that he's trying. You're able to see how talented he is, but you're also able to see what level of desperation he is in, because his money's going to run out. There's obviously something going on with his wife and his kids. So, like, his kid rather, and so he takes this job in Spain, and it puts him in a very precarious situation. But he also meets a similar soul in the sense of how this is. Like, it helps meet that sort of similar person that he may be really kind of feel a calling to. And they decide to write a movie together, which is, again, this is sort of the meta moment. I'm not going to give any other details away, but the movie that they wrote together is also the movie that we ended up watching. So there's that. Brian, thoughts on that? Did I miss anything in the baton handoff that we had?
No, I think that's a good summary.
Okay. For those of you that are listening, Marcus currently is looking up at his ceiling because it feels as if someone, maybe Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, is going to do a people's elbow through his ceiling and like come down right on top of him. So if we have to bust out because Marcus died, we will be prepared.
Goddamn two.
So that is the tag teamed version of the barbershop summary.
The damn barbershop synopsis because of the damn thing.
Well, you're good. We're fine. We got it. We locked it down. So I'm gonna do the cast of this particular movie. Nicolas Cage plays himself. Pedro Pascal plays Javi Gutierrez. Tiffany Haddish plays Vivian. Sharon Horgan plays Olivia, aka Nicolas Cage's ex-wife. Paco Leon plays Lucas Gutierrez, Javi's cousin. Neil Patrick Harris plays Richard Fink. Lily Mosheen plays Addie Cage. Alessandra Mastrodani plays Gabriella. And then after that, it's kind of not a lot other than Demi Moore is in this for like 2 seconds.
Well.
When
I missed it. I totally missed it.
Demi
Was that
Moore.
at the end of the movie when
Yeah.
she played the
Yes.
actress version of the mom?
Yes.
Okay, got it. Okay,
Yep.
got it.
Exactly right.
I
Yep.
knew I felt like I should have known who she was, but I was looking at that scene like I should know who that is. It's
Yes.
important.
I am going to interject weird Nicolas Cage facts into this particular movie.
I can't wait.
Into this particular podcast
I can't wait.
in honor of the episode.
Okay.
So my first Nicolas Cage fact is, and maybe more, it's a quiz. And if you're listening, watching, feel free to play along.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, what was Nicolas Cage's original name? Without looking it up, what was his original full
Did we
name?
get multiple choice?
I'm going to you're just going to guess.
Nick Johnson. I don't know.
Frankie Silhouette.
Okay. Both wrong, which I expected. That's just why I was sort of a softball there.
All right.
This is more fun if you get it wrong, because I can be like, no, well, actually, his full name is Nicholas Kim Coppola.
Oh.
And if you're like, wait a minute, is that
Francis?
like Francis Ford Coppola? Yes, it is.
Really?
Nicolas Cage is Francis Ford Coppola's nephew.
What?
Yeah. So Nicolas Cage is related to the man who directed The Godfather.
How? Okay. For some reason, this just makes sense.
Doesn't
this is
it,
blowing
though?
my mind.
Okay.
Yeah.
So why did he change his name?
That's a quiz for later. I got to talk about the movie a little bit
okay.
before we work our way into it. So
Goodness gracious.
we gotta talk about it a little bit. So, gentlemen, thoughts on this particular movie?
I mean, if you like this podcast, this movie is exactly for you because it's filled with movie references. It is filled with Nick Cage references. It is filled with cameos from like David Gordon. I want to get this name right. David. The director at the beginning of it is
David Gordon Green.
Yes, thank you. Is David Gordon Green, who I'm pretty sure people have seen his movies.
Yeah, you definitely have.
I mean, just there's so many people in this, and so many references, and the whole fact that the movie is actually the script they turn in of their experience just makes it even more meta and just surreal.
Yeah.
The one thing that I would compare it to immediately, if you need a feeling, is Tropic Thunder, and
yes,
that meta feeling of you have these actors playing actors in a movie that's about the movie. That's kind of like, that's the direct thing I would do a comparison to if you're trying to figure out why should I watch this. It wasn't as corny as I thought it would be, if I'm just being honest.
Yes.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to be a movie filled with Nicolas Cage quoting himself. And I'm glad that he's got the sense of humor as an actor to kind of poke fun at himself.
Yep, for sure.
Because a lot of people wouldn't do that.
They would not.
I mean, that's the thing is like this movie's so special to me because I can't imagine another actor doing this. Like, and the ones that you would want to see, I don't ever see doing it. Like your Tom Cruises, your Robert Downey Jr.'s. I mean, like, it's just
that would be one person I think that could do it is Robert Downey Jr. If you tell me to do this movie and replace Nicolas Cage with an actor, I think Robert Downey Jr. would be really good at this.
Yeah. I could see that.
But
I think the
Nicolas
trouble
Cage did it well.
I think the trouble is that no other actor has the what's the word I'm looking for?
Cultural cachet.
Cultural cachet, but also has the breadth of movie history. Like there's so much of an urban legend of like Nicolas Cage. Why the fuck would you do a movie where you play like some weird jujitsu alien hunter in a movie that's literally called Jujitsu, and then your next movie is Pig, that is literally about a man being so in love with his pig that's when it's killed, he goes on an absolute killing rampage. Then you go to Renfield. Those are the last 3 movies that I can name off the top of my head that he did. And that is an insane, like, And you can go all the way back, and there's just this man punched a woman in the face dressed as a bear, for Christ's sake. Like,
oh my gosh.
it's
Yeah, we
all
watched
over
that.
the place.
We did
Yes.
watch that. The only once again, the only person I can compare it to with that cultural cachet, as Brian mentioned, which I think is a perfect phrase, is Samuel L. Jackson.
Yep.
Because he's the only one that's got the spreads the gambit and roles selected. And I think he would also be good at somebody to poke. All I can think about this entire movie, to me, because it's a good movie at its base, right?
Yes.
It's got a good plot, good twist in it. The only thing I could think about throughout, though, was like, what other actors would I like to see do this?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
And how would they poke fun at themselves? Because, Nick pokes fun at himself at like, we got a bunch of shit we need to do, or I owe a lot of money, and there's a lot of debt, and there's all these things I got to do, and this is the role that'll change us for a lifetime. I think a lot of that was true and honest. You know what I mean? And like,
sure.
I agree.
I was just thinking the entire time, what other actors would I like to see? Actors, people who act, actresses, would I like to see do this kind of role?
Yeah. That's a great point. Brian?
I've only thought of actors. When I think of actresses, like, and I think the other thing here too is like, I feel like Nick Cage is part of, if you're going to let me wax poetic here for a second,
Please.
I feel like Nick Cage, Tom Cruise, Keanu Reeves is like, they're this last wave of like more classical, like Hollywood movie stars. Yeah. And I guess what I mean by that is like anybody can become a star now. Like there's movies with people you've never heard of before and they're good and we're cool with it. And so I feel like these legacy type things of like, oh, they're a legend. Like, well, you don't need that as much to sell a movie. It might help, but like you have so many folks that are not household names turning in good projects that I feel like maybe it's not the end of an era, but it's certainly changing. And I feel like Nick Cage is one of those people that it's almost incomparable. Like, and when there's a ton of actresses I would have loved to see this treatment for. I feel like Cameron Diaz like comes to mind too.
Yeah.
I just feel like she would have crushed something like this too. Of like you followed all of my work. I mean, the list could go on, but I think that I don't know. It's such a weird concept for a movie that I'm even surprised it got made, and I'm happy it did because this. I mean, again, and I feel like I say this a lot on this podcast, but it's a movie for people who like really like movies.
Yeah,
it absolutely is. It absolutely is. That's a great way to put it.
And the pairing, I think the pairing is also another important piece to put out. You can do this movie with Nicolas Cage, but this movie isn't what it is without Pedro Pascal.
Agreed.
Oh my
100% accurate.
Yes.
Yeah, the pairing is just perfect. Like these two playing off of each other. Pedro, the super fan, Nicolas Cage being also a fan of Javi. I guess I should use the movie name like Javi and all that other stuff. But I just think that those two really brought the movie to life and really played off of each other well.
Absolutely. You know what the trouble is with doing so, Marcus, to your point, Samuel L. Jackson is credited as being an actor in 196 different projects since the start of his career now. For perspective, Cameron Diaz has been in 59 projects credited as an actress. Tom Cruise has been credited in 46 projects as an actor. Keanu Reeves has been credited in 106, and Nicolas Cage has been credited in 107. So that is the body of work. So almost Samuel L. Jackson is too much. Like there is too much to pull from.
No such
thing. Absolutely true. Give me more Samuel L. Jackson. But if you're trying to do a movie where it's a tribute, like what do you pick?
Yeah.
Like what do you pick? Like,
and
it'd
almost
be hard.
I feel like you can be funny with Nick Cage's movies that he's done in the past. Sam, almost you could do a homage because of all of the different types of roles that he's done and the cultural component that he adds to it as well. But
there's some of these as I'm looking at them like that I really like. As I look at like Nicolas Cage's like filmography, there are movies on here that I have seen and that I have loved. And then there are movies on here that I have not seen and I really would like to watch. Like he did a movie that's called, oh God, where is it? It was insane when I saw the title and I was like, I have to watch this if only to figure out what's going on here. I'll find it later. But I do remember he was in that movie for Disney called The Sorcerer's Apprentice.
Sure
Yes,
do.
I do remember
That
that
was
movie.
such a fun movie.
Yeah, I do.
Like
remember
I
that movie.
actively enjoyed that. Like that was really, really good. So yeah, he's been all over the place. Are you all ready for my next fun Nicolas Cage fact?
Of course,
Please.
Gentlemen, as I mentioned, Nicolas Cage has 107 projects that he's been credited as an actor. What was his first appearance as an actor?
Oh, shit.
In what movie? I'll give you a hint. It was in 1982.
Godfather.
It was not The Godfather. Good guess.
At Fast Times at Ridgemont High. I don't know.
That's absolutely what
chunk
it was, Brian. Brian, that's the
He's-
answer. He was in Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
The way Brian and I looked at the camera was like, "Oh, what?" You said
This
I got it
just made
right.
my fucking day. Yeah, he appears very quiet, very controlled. He plays a fellow cashier in the restaurant that the main character, Judge Reinhold, works at. And he literally blends into the background. You would blink and you miss him because he's there,
that
but
was
he
a
is
total
there,
guess.
like in the background.
That's
So yes,
wild as
Brian,
shit.
his first appearance was in the movie The Fast Times at Ridgemont High. that
All I
debuted in
went off
1982.
of was early 80s, and I was like, what's like a common
Yeah.
that's incredible. Great
Yeah.
pull. Great
That
pull.
was-
Yeah,
What a-
dude,
what a
it's
great
kind of
guess.
crazy. Yeah. I found the movie I wanted to see too. It's a short film called Werewolf Women of the SS, and it came out in 2007. And Nicolas Cage plays a man called Fu Manchu.
Wait
and
a
I
minute.
desperately want to see this.
Wait. This was a trailer. This was a trailer in the Quentin Tarantino movie Grindhouse. Did they
Oh
actually
shit!
make a movie of it?
Maybe not. I never
Okay.
saw Grindhouse, so possibly not.
I probably won't
So-
be watching that movie.
It's 2 minutes, so yes, they did not make it. That's the trailer.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, now I'm gonna look it up, and
I
I'm gonna
mean,
watch it.
I watched Grindhouse, and
Can you-
it was a very much a Brian Roush movie. It is
Okay.
it is
All right.
nuts.
Fair enough. Back to the movie at
Oh,
hand.
gosh.
My question for you all is, was there ever a moment in the movie when you were watching it where you were like, oh, this is a movie about making a movie? Like,
Yes.
or was ever, sorry, let me rephrase, because that's obvious. That answer's like, duh, Doug, were you watching it? The question I was going to ask, did you ever expect the end of the movie to be the way in which it ended? So that last little
Yes.
bit where it reveals that they're on set at a premiere, did you see that coming?
Yes.
I-
Yes.
Kind of.
Okay.
I mean, I wasn't surprised. I didn't see it coming, but I wasn't surprised. I mean, basically halfway through the movie, when the CIA is like, "Hey, you have to convince this. You have to stay longer for XYZ," and the only way to do that is to do this script. I was like, "Oh, that's like what this whole movie's gonna be about." So I wasn't surprised. I did not see it coming though.
When they were in the car and Javi said, "What if this was the movie about our
Yeah.
relationship?"
Oh,
Yeah.
I said,
yeah.
"Oh, got it. This is what this is about." And when they did the face off of, when they had the face off of like, should we go to the top of the mountain so that we can,
Oh, yeah.
finish out this third act at the top of the
Yeah.
third act? I was like,
Yes.
okay, got it.
Yeah.
That was like, it was like, if you look into the camera and say that any harder, you're gonna break the lens.
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
at that point, you know.
Yeah, yeah. It's that Jim Halpert moment, like in The Office, where you look at the camera and you're just kind of like,
Yeah.
Yeah, they jimmed the camera real hard there.
yeah,
Oh,
hard.
they definitely did. Yeah.
I thought he said,
Yeah,
jizz the
That's
camera.
that moment where he was like, what if it's about this? If in case anybody's curious, that's where we lost Brittany. That's,
really?
That's where Brittany was like, I hate this. I don't want to watch it anymore.
Oh.
Like, she was just out. Because she was like, this is a movie for people who really like movies and who really like
Yes.
Nicolas Cage. And she goes,
Yes.
I don't really know a lot about him, so I don't really care one way or another.
Okay, I can see
And
that.
she made a
That
really good
makes
point where
sense.
she's like, yeah, if you're like the three of us and you watched movies like The Rock
Yeah.
and Ghost Rider and Face Off and some of those other like
Yep.
really like and Con Air and
Oh my gosh.
Raising Arizona, like if you
Yep.
didn't watch those as a part of like your youth, this movie is kind of like a why'd they make a movie about Nicolas Cage? Like, I do
Yeah.
feel like there is like
Yeah.
an asterisk next to it where you're like, that's kind of the factor.
I do think that makes it kind of a slept on movie though, because
Yes,
I think a
yeah.
lot of people missed out on how good this was, including me, because I like Nicolas Cage. I will watch some of the stuff that he's in. Like majority of the stuff that he's in, probably I'm not up to date with the newer stuff. But I didn't watch this because I wasn't like the super fan of Nicolas Cage to like want to
Oh,
watch
sure.
a movie about Nicolas Cage.
Right.
If it wasn't for us having to watch it for the Patty family, like I probably wouldn't have watched it. I had always
Agreed.
skipped past it in Paramount Plus, which luckily my father had a Star subscription, so I was able to watch it
Oh, nice.
for
Oh, there you
free.
go.
But I probably wouldn't have watched it.
That's fair. That's absolutely fair.
The lovenerds.com sponsored my watch. So I'm gonna advertise them right now. So thank you to my wife and her
Shout out to the
business.
Love Nerds.
That's so funny to me. Is she making a series of T-shirts inspired by Nicolas Cage?
I mean, she should.
That'd be
should.
hilarious.
She should.
That would be
Clearly,
hilarious.
she should. Yeah, for your make party supplies for your next Nicolas Cage themed birthday party for your child. Just
Can I say one?
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, my bad. I interrupted the.
Oh, no,
promo.
it wasn't a good bit. Go ahead.
I interrupted. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
You're fine.
I interrupted that promo.
You're fine.
The only thing that annoyed me in this movie, and I don't
Uh-huh.
want to say this as a black man,
Say it.
Okay.
Tiffany Haddish.
I
Oh.
was wondering.
Why did she annoy you?
I don't think that I am a fan of Tiffany Haddish in things.
Oh, this is so funny to me. Keep going.
Yeah.
I can watch whatever she's in. It's not like I hate Tiffany Haddish, so I'm not gonna watch
Uh-huh.
that. But when she popped
Right.
up and did her whole bit, I was like, why Tiffany Haddish in particular for that role?
Yeah, good question. Fair question.
Because even the whole CIA thing, the whole CIA bit, like I don't know who else they could have had to play the role. It's nothing that she did in particular. Like it's just I was watching a movie and in the first scene where she's like, I'm gonna do it anyway. I put his phone in his pocket. Oh my god, it's Nick Cage.
Yeah.
Like, why specifically was it Tiffany Haddish and not someone else? That was the only thing that
Fair
was like
question.
going through my mind. I'm not like a big Tiffany Haddish is in it. I need to go watch it. I think she's always good as a assistant, like a co-lead in some capacity.
I agree.
But to this story, I didn't feel like she offered anything that was like, oh yeah, they perfectly casted Tiffany Haddish for this role.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. But I also don't think I would ever count myself as someone who has to like go see. I don't think I would be in that boat either of like, oh, it's Tiffany Haddish. I got to go see her stuff. What I find very interesting is when I was demoing this movie for my wife to see by watching the trailer, she said, I'll watch it because of Tiffany Haddish.
Really? We'll find out every day on this podcast.
Barely.
Yeah.
Brittany is not a fan of this podcast.
I don't think she's a fan of the movies we watch for this podcast.
Brittany is not.
She is
like
outside of several demographics.
I mean, I can't recommend a movie to her. I accept this wholeheartedly. So this tracks
She
with
didn't
the
like
previous.
I did either.
Yeah, but yeah, that's really funny. That's interesting. I also, to be honest, I kind of felt the same way about Ike Barinholtz too. Like you could have had
that was a random
anybody as the CIA. You could have had two people in suits. Like you didn't need to do it, but it felt like you did it because you were friends. Like that's where I absolutely picked up. Like maybe they're just really good buddies with Tiffany Haddish and Ike Barinholtz.
What it felt like was the studio knew that the core of this is the relationship dynamic between Nick Cage and Pedro Pascal's characters. And that's 90% of the movie. So another advertising route is, well, we have these like two CIA characters that have maybe 8 pages of lines.
Yeah.
Cast whoever, and you put their names on the marketing and call it a day. That was probably that was probably the logic behind it. And I mean, to me, it kind of works. I was like, oh, like Tiffany Haddish, like, okay, like she's in this too. Like, I'll be legit. Like, yeah,
I would say the same thing.
That was a point in its favor.
But to Brian's point, Patrick
Neil Patrick Harris.
Neil Patrick Harris, thank you. Neil Patrick Harris being casted didn't bother me at all, but I still felt like that was a perfect casting for the agent who is Nicolas Cage's agent, right? So that role made sense to me. And I think to Brian's point about the marketing, you say you have Neil Patrick Harris, you got Tiffany Haddish, you got Nicolas Cage, you got Pedro. If you list these names, I'm like, oh, that sounds like an all-star funny cast of a movie that I want to watch. But nothing that they did in particular was funny for me, if I'm just being honest.
This feels like if you're going to a comedy club, this feels like you're going because Nicolas Cage is going to do a set, and then you got all these other comics on top of it where you were like, maybe they'll be good, but it doesn't really matter because you showed up, it was Nicolas Cage. Like that's very much like and I feel like from a studio perspective, I feel like they kind of were like, you're not going to make a movie that's just about Nicolas Cage. Who else can you get in there?
Right.
Well, we got Pedro Pascal. Great. We need a little bit of like punch up, or otherwise this is going to be silly and stupid.
Yeah.
So they're like, what if we got some comedians in this? They're like, great. We don't care. Pick three.
Yeah.
Like, and they picked those three.
Yeah. And those three, I think those three are good on paper. You tell me that this movie is happening. Or on the poster, you tell me this movie is happening. And I think that they have a bigger role than what they do. I'm like, okay, yeah, I will watch a movie with this oddball cast of comedians and clearly distinct and different personalities for sure. Oh, yeah. But when I watched the movie, it was kind of like, well, why did you put these two people in here? Like, this could have been anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't. I don't know. I was so indifferent to those characters. Because I just wanted to see more of Nick Cage and Pedro Pascal doing their thing.
Exactly, and maybe that's the point. I just focused too much on it.
No, it's certainly something weird that's noticed. So yeah, you're fine.
I mean, I think it works. I think it works for what it is. I think for folks like us though, that are like, your meat and potatoes here is good enough. You don't need to add like the silly CIA agents. I don't think that's for us. I think that's to like at least try to hook in more of like the
and
general
push that
viewers.
storyline forward too, probably.
Yeah.
You know,
I do think though, Brian and Marcus, you all made this point about like why Tiffany Haddish. I do think that there's something unpleasant here. Maybe if we were to really like uncover it, because in my mind, that moment where Nicolas Cage is like walking into the camera room and he's accidentally touched his forehead with this like sedative. I feel like if you play that with like really deadpan CIA folks who are acting there, that's a funnier moment. I almost worry that they were like, cast Tiffany Haddish because she'll be extra in how she responds.
Got it.
And that's me looking into it a little bit.
That's the typecast that she gets into.
I feel like that's maybe they typecast her a little bit because to me, it's funnier if the two dudes are like, what are they doing? Like really deadpan, taking it way too seriously.
Right.
Like, what are you doing? And then, you know, they have that moment where they say action and he wakes back up, and that's where the punchline and all that stuff is. So I don't know, that's me really picking apart a movie that all in all was sort of like fun and an homage to my like teen and early 20 years.
Yeah. I mean, I love that. I don't know. I really enjoyed the third act and how this movie was like, look, we did all the character stuff. It's time for action. Okay. Yeah. We're going to have a car chase. We're going to have a shootout. We're just going to go for it. And I enjoyed it for that because I don't know. One, it also honors Nick Cage's like legacy, extensive action movie history.
Yeah.
And then on the other hand, it's also like, how do you want to end this movie? Do you want there to be an emotional breakthrough? Do you want there to be like, you know, like none of that feels right for Nick Cage. Like you got to have this big explosive moment. And I think that's very on par for this for me.
Yep. Gentlemen, would you like my last Nicolas Cage fact of the podcast?
Yes, I'm ready.
What is the inspiration for Nicolas Cage's, essentially his pseudonym? So his real name is Nicholas Kim Coppola. From what does he draw inspiration for his last name?
I know why the cage bird sings.
That is an outstanding guess. It's incorrect, but that's an outstanding guess. Damn it. That's very an intellectual guess.
Yeah,
I was mine is not. I was going to say Johnny Cage from Mortal Kombat, but that video game came out way after he changed his name. I'm pretty sure.
It did. He read Marvel Comics' Luke Cage and wanted to change his last name because it was something that was like timeless, something that could be like, what did he call it? This is from like the 60 Minutes interview that I sent you. He says, I almost wanted it to be something that was like unbreakable. Like you couldn't take that away from me. And so in the digging that I did, at age 15, he tried to convince his uncle to give him a screen test for a movie that Francis Ford Coppola was working on. The quote that he shouted at his uncle was, "I'll show you acting." This is after Francis Ford Coppola had directed Marlon Brando, Al Pacino, Gene Hackman, and Robert De Niro. And the other issue is that people were going to say, like, they were judging him because they were essentially going to say, like, any work you get is because from nepotism.
Yeah.
So he said, well, then I'll change my last name. Hence, Nicolas Cage.
Wow.
There you
go. Okay, I have a question.
Yes.
This is the age-old, timeless question that usually comes up in music conversations, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you think a person's longevity can longev a little too much? If I'm looking at the history of Nicolas Cage and where he was with things like, we see him in Face Off, we see him in what is it with Arizona? What is with Arizona?
Raising Arizona.
Raising Arizona. We seen him in Con Air. You know, we see him in all these different type of movies, and sometimes you get a light like Pig, or you get a light like this movie, right?
Yeah.
Has he been in the game so long that he's tainted kind of how serious we take him? Or is he still in his prime and is still somebody who is well respected in acting? Has he ever been in that position? I guess that's
question. That's a good question. I think there's a moment. I think there's a turning point. I think there's a turning point with his acting where it sort of falls off. And I would love to do like more of a deep dive into this. But realistically, you know, from 1987, when he debuted really for his first full-time role in Raising Arizona, this dude had hits like almost every, like sometimes 2 movies a year. So in the same year that he did Raising Arizona, which is a Coen Brothers classic, he did Moonstruck, which is another like absolutely, like, in terms of like, it's a cult following, it's got a huge cult following, it's considered to be really, really good. Then he takes a little time off. Then he's in a movie called Time to Kill. Then he does, after that, Honeymoon in Vegas. Then the next big one, and he does a few like that are right there in 95, 96, and 97 with Leaving Las Vegas, The Rock, Con Air, Face Off, City of Angels, Snake Eyes, 8mm, Gone in 60 Seconds, The Family Man, and then it starts to go like, ooh, what are we doing here?
Okay.
Because we're starting to get some weird things like Captain Corelli's Mandolin. Then we're also getting, he was in a movie called, he did the voice for one of the Marley brothers in A Christmas Carol movie. Like, what? And then, look, y'all, I'm not here to talk negatively of current events, but he played a man with a New York accent in the movie about the World Trade Center. And it was, and that mustache was not great. But then there's these other, and then The Wicker Man was that year, which, good or bad, it's iconic for him. Yeah.
Man.
But then it really starts to get kind of, I hate to say it, out there. After The Second National Treasure, he does Bangkok Dangerous. He does Knowing. He does Bad Lieutenant. He does, but you're right, Marcus. Like, he has these moments where they're like up and down and they're kind of all over the place. I don't know. I mean, he definitely hit hard times right around 2013. From 2013 to, I don't know, like 2018. Because he did a movie. Some of these he did. I mean, in 2017, he did 6 movies. 6 in 1 year. Including one that I would love to watch for this podcast called Mom and Dad.
Oh, I remember that one.
Insane.
I remember that one. I guess that's the point I'm trying to make. you know, you do have people, and then I think about it, like you have Tom Cruise, right? Tom ain't necessarily putting out a bad movie. Like it can kind of be hit or miss for people depending on where they at, but he also sticks to his bread and butter. Mission Impossible, Top Gun. Like right now, he's been in a game where he can kind of go back and revisit these movies and just put his little Tom je ne sais quoi on it, and it's good. It's a success, and he's got the name to be able to be successful. Nicolas Cage he was hot, and then you kind of hit that turning point. You know, I don't know. Is he still considered a caliber actor? Is he somebody we take serious, tolerate, or kind of look like you remember when Nick was good?
I think there's one problem with this. I think this is the biggest problem with this is that I think the issue is not so much is he still a good actor. I think the issue is, did he have really good managers? And then did his managers take advantage? And again, possible. I don't know much about his personal life.
Right.
Dude could have a cocaine habit that I don't know about. Very possible. Or he could have another vice. Like what's the vice that they say for murders? It's always like drugs, money, or sex. Like that's the reason why murders happen. Same thing for like why you embezzle money, drug money, or you know what I mean? So like there's part of me that like would equate this to like he could have, I can't remember the manager's name of the NWA, like to use the music analogy. But if that manager of them, when they were first starting in their first, like when they were really big, when Compton came out, that dude like fucked them. Would we still have Eazy-E, and would they have still been together to make 7 more albums if the manager was better? Or would the music eventually would have fallen off?
I feel like that's 2 different questions. If I'm being honest, I feel like yours is part of the story. Mine is Nick can always say no when it comes to a gig.
He can.
You know? Well, and I know there was a moment where he possibly needed money. That was the rumor. Like he owed a lot of money. He was in debt. And I'm not saying he's a bad actor, but I'm saying like look at the journey and where do we view him now? Like where do us 3 view Nicolas Cage after watching this movie and getting kind of this walk down memory lane of like, is this a movie poking fun at Nick because of where he is now? Or is this a movie celebrating Nick because of how far he's come and everything that he's done and offering context to how he got to this moment?
That's a great question. I would say, go ahead, Brian.
You actually finish your point, and then I have I just pulled up some really quick fast facts about his trajectory with movies. So finish your thought, Doug, and then I have a quick book report.
I guess here's the thing: is that like an actor, people in desperation will do desperate things. I think Nick Cage is a phenomenal actor.
Yes,
you are telling me that the same person who is able to do Stanley Goodspeed in The Rock was also able to do like the guy he played in National Treasure, whose name I can never remember, but who also did like jujitsu. Like all 3 of those people are the same thing. And I think what you can say is he's doing the best he can given the material that he's given. So I would still say he's a fantastic actor who has poor judgment, like who is in a situation that causes him to go, judgment isn't a factor. Like I'm not in a position financially where I can say no. If someone's going to pay me $10 million to show up in a bullshit alien movie where I do kung fu and fight them for 90 minutes, fuck it. I need the money. Like I can't say no. And so I think that's more or less, I think we need to judge him based on his talent and try to take out his personal circumstances that impacted his talent.
So I'm pulling this from a Variety piece that was published in March of 2022, kind of talking about this period in his life. So essentially, it's this moment after, I want to get this date right because it will make sense with his IMDb history.
Yeah.
But essentially, he around 2014, you start seeing all these like box office flops of like Sorcerer's Apprentice, Ghost Rider, and that's when you see all these like really strange movies you've never heard of. And it turns out that like basically around that time, the IRS came for him in $6.3 million of unpaid taxes, and
from
he had some really intense spending habits, I think is the best way to say it. Apparently he bought castles in Europe. He bought a fleet of Rolls Royces.
God damn.
And so basically he took every single project he could starting in 2014 just to like pay the bills. And then this interview is for Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. And essentially he figured this all out around 2021. He's paid off his debt. The tax lien is gone. So he can be a little bit more picky with projects, but it reminds me of the Bruce Willis streak of like, I feel like I keep seeing him in an ad for a new low budget action movie where it looks like he's phoning it in. Why am I seeing it this way? And it turns out it's because Nick Cage needed money. Like he needed money to pay the IRS. So that's why. And I mean, there's some stuff in here that's good. Like Mandy was well reviewed.
Oh yeah.
You have, but I mean, then you also, for every Mandy, there's like 5, Vengeance, a love story, or Army of One, or, all this other type of stuff. So anyway, 2014 to 2021, that's why you get the filmography you do.
Yeah. And Brian, I'm looking at the Wikipedia that lists out all the different properties that he sold. He sold an island worth $7 million that was off the coast of Nassau County, which is like Nassau, the Bahamas. The other island was owned by Faith Hill and Tim McGraw.
I like them.
He sold, you're right, he sold a medieval castle, Schloss Niedstein, in the Oberpfalz region of Germany. He sold that for $2.5 million.
That's it?
He had to sell his German castle, his home in Rhode Island, Louisiana, Nevada, California, and his island, all just to be able to pay back this situation, because you're right, he owed $6.2 million to the IRS, and he had to say that and he said, in addition, the Internal Revenue Service added another lien on his properties dating to 2002 to 2014 that was for $350,000. I bring this up to highlight this other point, that in 2009, shortly after, the issues with his taxes, he did file a lawsuit against his business manager, Samuel Levin, alleging negligence and fraud.
Yeah.
So
wow.
Very
I feel you. Listen, I am not the one saying that Nick is not, not a good actor, or I don't enjoy Nicolas Cage. I just want to make sure. I think perceptions of this movie can be taken in differently depending on who the audience is.
Oh,
and
100%.
Is this a movie celebrating Nicolas Cage and everything that he's done? Because I do believe what I also enjoyed, that this was not a domestic based movie, right?
Yeah,
it was international. And I do think that internationally, Nick Cage is viewed as these older movies, and man, Nick Cage is a badass and he's an action star that we all know and love. And here we're oversaturated really in America, and like you get a badass action star every other week. You know what I mean? Like there's other options that we know.
Yeah.
I just wanted to bring that point up, and I appreciate y'all highlighting that.
Yeah. No, and I think, Marcus, that's not an unfounded point, right? Because lately nostalgia has been king for the millennial folk. And so this is, what does he bring up when he gets in there? The guns from Face Off, the Elegance from the Pearls configuration, the bunny thing from Con Air. He's not bringing up anything before that. Like he's not bringing up stuff from Moonstruck. He's not bringing up stuff from, maybe a nod to Raising Arizona, but not much more than that.
Yeah.
Even the movie it opens up with is Con Air. That's a millennial. That is a, hey, you all, you remember these 6 movies?
Yeah.
Because I think you're right. If you're younger than that, you're going to look at this movie and go like, the dude hasn't been in anything good that I've seen.
Right.
Why are we doing this?
Or this is, in a way, we're late to watching this. This was his Super Bowl, right?
Oh,
you don't get paid to shit to perform the Super Bowl. But what it does do is up your streams after the Super Bowl is over, right?
Yeah. Great point.
So you watch this movie. This is his Super Bowl. He's in it with a new hot actor, Pedro Pascal, and they seem like they had a genuine chemistry with each other and enjoyed each other. You watch this movie and then you end it and you're kind of like, you know what I feel like watching? I kind of feel like watching Face Off, or I kind of feel like watching Con Air, or I kind of feel like watching insert whatever National Treasure 2, because what you can say is there is a Nick Cage movie in every generation.
Oh, yeah.
I agree.
So everybody's got something that they could pull and be like, well, I remember Nick Cage from insert this.
Yeah. Yeah. Great point.
I mean, and I'm fascinated by this filmography. I mean, like, this guy didn't say no.
Yeah,
no.
he didn't.
Like, at all. He made a movie called Willy's Wonderland where it looks like he's trapped in a Chuck E. Cheese. He made a movie called Mom and Dad where it looks like Home Alone on acid.
Home Alone, except Mom and Dad are trying to kill you.
Yeah, like, I mean, like, there's stuff on here that is, like, way out there. So, like, I kind of have to give the guy a ton of credit.
Tip of the hat, like, yeah.
Honestly, I mean, this guy just didn't say no at all. They just were like, "You want another movie?" And he was like, "What am I doing? Am I the spirit of vengeance? Like, you throw it at me, I'll go." And I honestly, I like.
You can't keep mad at him for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, think about his engine. He's on set on Mom and Dad reading a script for the next insane project. Not reading it to say yes or no. He's already said yes.
He's working on it.
He is memorizing lines while he already has lines up here. He could run a masterclass on memorizing shit. Target it to college students, charge $20 a pop, and I'd be willing to bet he'd make off whatever else he has left, because whatever strategy's there, dude can memorize some shit and commit it to memory.
And I also feel like it's, I don't know, for me, I feel like Nicolas Cage became like an internet meme in itself. And like, I don't know, I feel like I saw a lot of it around 2010, 2011, like after he was in Sorcerer's Apprentice. And like, I don't know, like, I don't even know how to describe it, but like, this was, I mean, there was Reddit, but you didn't have like TikTok or like memes weren't really on Twitter, and kind of not so much Facebook, but like, I don't know, like he was everywhere on the internet, and it was just kind of shorthand for like unhinged, like, I don't know, unhinged wildness. I don't even know how to describe it.
He was unhinged before unhinged became a part of our like cultural like zeitgeist. Like when I say somebody's acting unhinged now, you have a thought in your head, and it's more than likely a clip from a Nicolas Cage movie. Yeah. So that's what I got. Gentlemen, final thoughts on this. Should people watch it?
Yeah. Go watch it.
If you like this podcast, watch this movie.
We just got done talking about the man in the movie for the last 45 minutes.
You can't separate it, though.
Yep.
I mean, that's the thing. That's why I enjoy it. That's why I get so meta with it, because you have to think about everything twice.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Well, go stream it. It's a lot of fun. Thank you to the Patty family for tossing one our way. Gentlemen, what do you all have to plug this week? Brian.
Hey, folks. TheLoveNerds.com sponsored my viewing of The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. So go check out that website. There's a lot of good lifestyle tips and tricks that you can easily implement in your life to make it a bit brighter. Go check out TheLoveNerds.com.
And coming soon, Nicolas Cage themed t-shirt designs.
Nicolas Cage themed birthday supplies. You want a Con Air birthday party? Why? I'm kidding. I'm not committing to any of this.
Yes. Would you like an elegant string of pearls on a t-shirt? Anyway, Marcus, what do you have to plug?
You always want to make sure you follow the mantra: never offended, always humble. You know what I mean? Find something you like, go support the mantra, go buy yourself some gear. On the website, you always have to link in my bio at Marcus J. Destin. Whatever, go support some music, go support Soul Tide, go support myself and some music. But whatever you do, make sure you follow the mantra: never offended, always humble.
Absolutely. And I have for this plug, this podcast, recommend this to a friend or a family member. Best way to share the love about the podcast. Also, if you feel like being ridiculed on a weekly basis by me, please sign up for one of the Patreon. I'm kidding.
That's the fourth heat.
We could not do this without Roman and the rest of our Patty family helping us pick movies like this. So if you want to help be a producer for the show, join the Patty family. Head over to patreon.com/filmsinblackandwhite. to visit everything there. There will be a link in the episode description to all of these things. But gentlemen, we have a 3-step process to success. Brian, what is the first step?
Hey, folks, I'm here to tell you to read a book. And here's the thing. Usually I have something quippy, but like honestly, to just find a book that gets you jazzed, because there's just such a great feeling of being lost in a book, and you're like, I can't wait to read more. It's a special experience. So go find that book. You have permission if you need it. Go find that book. Read a book.
Brian and I talked about books that we reread and reminded us why we liked them or enjoyed them to start the pod. So yeah, you can go back to old books. We're not saying read a new book every week. That's a lot to commit to. Go back and revisit something you read when you were a kid, or maybe when you were, in your younger days, and see if you still enjoy it. And maybe it's a trip down emotional memory lane for you. So read a book.
Nice.
Brian,
childish book.
Yeah. Marcus.
No, I'm not Brian. Drink some.
Drink.
I know
the podcast started.
I know we look alike.
The Black History Month threw me off. I don't know anything.
Wow. Black History Month threw you off, huh? Drink some water. Step 2, you want to make sure you drink some water. Drink some water with some alkaline. Drink some water that's filtered through an expensive Brita. But whatever you do, make sure you are drinking water. Stay hydrated. The sun is coming out. Hopefully we are done with snow here in South Dakota, knock on wood. But
why'd you have to say it? Now it's
I know. Friday was a shit show. But whatever you do, make sure you drink some water.
Absolutely. And our third step and our third key to success is, look, usually I have some sort of like planned, rehearsed, or semi-comedic bit about this. But look, y'all, it's allergy season. Ooh. And your whole body needs to get the allergies off of you, so that way you can feel better. So wash your ass, because if not for us, for yourself. Spring is tough. The trees are trying to kill you. Get the pollen off of you and just wash your ass. Make sure you use a washcloth so you don't get pink eye, and it'll save everybody everything. So just wash your ass. It's really, really important.
Did you get pink eye?
Look at my name, Doug Pink Eye Lopez.
You got pink eye?
Yes, in both eyes.
How did you get pink eye in both eyes?
I don't fucking know. I have little kids.
Oh, okay. Well,
hashtag little kids. Also, don't have little kids.
Blame it on the kids.
No, I love them. We will be back next week with another fantastic episode of Films in Black and White, covering some news and the latest headlines. But in the meantime, and in the between time,
I missed 5 minutes of the intro, and you've got pink eye in both eyes. That's crazy to me.
It's crazy, man.
Pink eye bandit.
So contagious.
It really is.
It really is contagious.
It really is, yeah. But in the meantime, in the between time, stay safe, stay healthy. We love y'all. We appreciate y'all. We'll catch y'all next week.
Don't go rubbing your butthole and then your eye.
Don't do that.